create a condition which will take time for them to industrialize in the country domestically. If it is energy, if it is textile, whatever that it is, you have to deal with these companies and encourage them and incentivize them to come back. Putting just tariff and thinking that they are going to come back is the biggest lie of our century, and that's why it's not making any sense, and that's why it's not sellable. And the posturing, the way that we are selling it, is counterproductive to American interests at large because you're making our friends our foes. And I rest with that.
Okay, Sir Dude. Yeah, so I totally agree with what you're saying. I do think that I don't know if we've been here before. And I think because I don't know, and I'm not saying it hasn't existed before, like we've never done this. I'm saying I don't know. And the reason why that's important to me is because um, I can understand why people are apprehensive and why people are up in arms. But I think one thing that we keep forgetting is these tariffs are going to affect countries that aren't as financially stable as we are. And do we know what happens when countries fear for their livelihood, for their well being, for their life? As a veteran, I think about that. I think about the uncertainty that some of these countries may, or resentment, right? Because anytime that we put a strain on another country, that country it can either be a good thing or a bad thing. I think Trump is willing to take that gamble, but I also don't believe that he has either himself or the people with him have the wherewithal to understand the implications of this, right? I don't, however, think even though they both Elon and Trump did say like this is going to hurt. I do think that I don't, the reason why I wanted to get the solutions is if we just keep talking about what is going to happen to us and we never talk about what we're going to do to pivot or how can we make this work for us, I think that is actually American ingenuity, right? Like the thing is we've gone through in my lifetime a housing crisis, recessions, um, Columbine, maybe a couple other things, I don't know. But we went through that, and COVID was very uncertain for us. It was very like we didn't know about what the future held for us. My house was being built during COVID, so I didn't even know what if my house was going to be finished, if I had to give it up, like what was going to happen because they stopped building for a couple of weeks. So I didn't. We broke ground and everything. The frame was up, and it was halted because of COVID. Right. Luckily, if it is finished and all that, but like I just wonder, like what are those implications for other countries? I think I'm concerned about that, but also like how are we going to make this work? Right. Americans have literally taken things like this, right, and have done great things with it. Right now, typically the rich get bailed out in situations like this. So that's where I'm thinking. And shout out to ChatGPT. But go ahead.
I'm glad that I'm just gonna speak for maybe 2 seconds. I'm glad that you brought that up, chat, because it's not what the people are not understanding, and I'd love for them to look at it in a broader way. They're just looking, oh,
Mm-hmm.
these people are saying this and that about the United States, and they hate us, and they say it in such a very eloquent way, so people listen and believe. But listen, all over the world, tariffs were brought in all these countries. I do not see how it's going to be positive if all the countries that the tariffs were levied at retaliate at the same time. So I don't think that it was very well thought out. And I agree with Cindy Stampo that maybe what your country government should have done was to take care of you internally first and then roll out these tariffs. What I would have liked to see is not like people don't want tariffs between nations. Of course, you gotta have to trade, and I think they're missing the point that we're saying it is the way it was rolled out. It's the lies also that we're told. It is the and a quote unquote bullying way that it was done. Because when I said today, That is not how you negotiate. I mean, my head was almost eaten off in this room, in the local room today, because I just came off my mic and said I did not like how it was rolled out, and I don't even want to repeat what one of the persons said to me in here, which was really egregious. Because I'm saying that you cannot tariff like that and the way it was done, and if you it's not a negotiation, because it's a negotiation, you should be able to go to the table and have a conversation on both sides. It is not going out in the public saying mean things about another country and accept that there's going to be a like and trust factor. And most people in here talk about people do business with who they like and trust, but the trust factor has been removed. And I hear some people saying, oh, they're going to be friends again. No, what I see going on, especially in Canada at this point, it doesn't look like it's a very easily repairable relationship. There's going to be a lot of skepticism. The fact that there was such a big to-who about the USMCA, that apparently US forget that Mr. Trump did negotiate, and turn around and say he did not know who negotiated. All those things. There is a like and trust. There's no trust. The trust relationship has been broken in Ireland.
Chad, to answer your questions, yes, America has implemented used tariffs in the past during the early stages of American development, talking about in the 1800s, 1850, 1870. American trade balance with Europe and the rest of the world was more of export and they guard against importation through tariffs. And that made America a world economic power. It helped. And it was something positive. That was when America was more or less isolationist, which is where Trump is trying to take us back now. There is nothing wrong with that. It's just that the way, the posturing, the way that this one is being sold, it is not being done diplomatically. It's being sold like it's a kind of a war, like it's a kind of an attack against other countries, right? Which is something that could have been implemented in a nice, concise, and deliberate and well explained way. I mean, there's nothing wrong if your country, everybody knows that America is laden in debt through years of war and conflict and expenditures. If you're saying that you're trying to raise money in order to balance, in order to pay off some of your national debt, people will empathize with you. People will understand that and maybe find a way, for you to just do it in a nice diplomatic way, not coming up like you're penalizing the whole world, like you're the one that you are the arbiter, you are the strongest, that you are the controller, you are the ruler, you're going to decide what you want. And I mean, in international politics, countries also have their own reputation to maintain. And when you rub them off like this in a negative way, you get the kind of reactions that you're getting. You see your friends, your allies joining forces against you, and you don't want that. You don't want a situation where South Korea, that you have a military base in, Japan, that you have a military base in, okay, uniting against you with China, that is your most opponent. I mean, come on, man. Why would you want that, for God's sake? And this is what posturing, negative posturing, all this bravado that this man is using, his approach and his exaptic approach, his combative approach in world politics. That is what is costing America. Some of these damages is going to take us like decades in order for us to repair. I'm done.
Hello?
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 Hello.
Hello? What y'all? Okay, so we didn't come up with a solution, apparently.
Um, Chat, I wanted to add something about
I'm
what
sorry.
the lady asked. If are you talking still, Chat, or you were
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You got
asking a
it.
question? So I wanted to say at the time about, will it affect services? Of course, it will affect services. I mean, we can't put paper bags over our head and think if a big tariffs are coming, it won't affect services because it depends also on who your customers are. And the other thing too, if people are on a budget, they're not going to buy your service when they need food. So to say it will not affect services and this damn kumbaya I hear sometimes, but you know what? Sometimes I don't like to come off my mic because sometimes I hear the kumbaya, oh, it's the services are going to be okay. No. When people have a budget, when people decide they are going to do something, sometimes the smart people are going to make a decision. They're going to decide whether I'm going to eat or whether I'm going to pay a coach to come and coach me. So if you even think about it that way, of course, whatever affects one side is going to spill over into the other side. I learned.
No, I agree. I mean, it's not even about the business owner per se, which is why I kind of push back against that a little bit because that seems a bit, dismissive to me. It's putting the onus on the individual to, you know, possibly fill a need that the government is not assisting, right? This is not necessarily a thriving environment because you're basically going to be culling dollars from individuals unless you are catering to the top 10%. Um, that is going to be retracting dollars, as Auntie Yvonne said, right? Everyone is not going to flourish and thrive during this market. And my pushback to this, telling people just to start a business, I actually hate that. I hate generic financial advice that's guised as an attaboy and get out there and be a bootstrap. That's not necessarily how that works, right? That's incredibly difficult to have a sustainable business. And the best way for you to get funding is to actually already have 9 to 5 income. Because when you just have an idea and a franchise report, right, and a tax ID, which you can get free from the IRS, you're not really even going to qualify for business credit. So people are really just supposed to be content creators and take pictures of their toes or themselves. What is that dude on doing with the great body? He's like submerging his face with a apple or a banana or something. Like, what in the world? I guess it works for him, but that's weird. So everybody doesn't want to do that with the camera stills and running on the freeway. All the things that people do for $5 or get on OnlyFans. God forbid. But some of y'all grandmas are going to figure out how to log on one day, and then you're going to be embarrassed that you really shook it like a salt shaker for $5. But the point that I'm trying to make is that that's still like a gig economy. So when we're talking about the top 10% and the 1%, what we have to realize is that wealthy individuals tend to retract their dollars as well when there are market disruptions. This is how they tend to stay wealthy. When the market is down, when the economy is not doing so great, such as in 2008, then they also save, right? We saw this in Q1 of 2020 during the first quarter of COVID. Everyone stopped spending, which is why we saw such a drastic decrease in GDP just for that quarter. We did not enter into a technical recession until 2022, which is 2 declining quarters of GDP. But the fact that we recovered so quickly is absolutely because a lot of wealthy people still contributed to the overall economy. And they are largely attributed with keeping the economy going right now, despite these endless high interest rates that we have, because inflation has not gone away, because the global supply chain is still there, because there's a labor shortage, right? At this point, I should pretty much make a lullaby and a litany of all of the things that contribute to the state of the economy, which is not necessarily going to be indicative of the state of the average middle American. That's who I'm concerned for. Do you guys know that bread lines and soup lines and food kitchens are already going out of control? They're having higher numbers than usual. And the Trump administration, and we have a lot of red states that are actually cutting the budgets for services that are just feeding people. The $1 billion that we cut from the USDA that basically supplied fresh fruit and vegetables to local school districts, where do we think that money is going to come from? And now you want to add tariffs on top of that? When the middle class is overburdened, that's when we start to see buckles in the system. The middle class can't take anymore. They can barely afford to pay their credit card debt, and we're starting to see signs of foreclosures and some resistance with all these mortgages, right? This is really not the time to be experimenting on a global scale with threatening other countries because you think that they've gotten the better deal for us. Can we let the American populace recover, please, from COVID? Just give us a few years, please, Mr. Trump. Just a few years. Go play golf or something. We'll be fine.
Hey,
but
Mickey, I got a question.
but it
Oh,
is
go ahead.
but it is time. It is a great opportunity to solve the problems. Just like in COVID, with food disparity. There were several businesses that were built up during that time frame to help that portion. I remember when the biggest problem was with masks. So what do? We get a government. We go there and get a government contract. Get all these different masks from. Well, we can't do it now from China, and was able to supply um, a lot of hospitals who were very short of masks. So my point is, when there is destruction, when there's chaos, there is a need. There's a need for a solution, right? But there's only a small percentage of people in this world that can solve that problem, and those are entrepreneurs.
Right.
So, Mickey, I had a question for you, all sincerity. And I want to hear your take on it because maybe we'll go down, woo woo lane or conspiracy lane. But um, let me ask you a question first. The one question: has the American banks, because I haven't looked it up or Googled it, comply with Basel III, the Banking Act? And are you familiar with it? Yeah. Well, I should ask you that first.
No, not off the top of my head. I don't
Okay.
think that
So,
for the stress test, I believe that most banks pass the stress test, like the major banks.
well, no,
We
that's our stress test. Basel
uh,
three, yeah. So Basel three, because I'm saying I'm going to go down a lane. Basel three is from the Bank for International Settlements, which is in Switzerland, Geneva, and it's what all central banks comply to. So the Federal Reserve, the Bank of China, Bank of England, etc. And they've been trying to push it. And I'm not saying Trump's the person. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like, if we get to a point, and I know you're in finance, where the dollar's no more the reserve currency, or it's not trusted, or it's downgraded, right, for our deficit at 32 trillion. Macro now. I'm shifting to macro, which goes back to micro. I'm wondering, because I've been believing no matter who came in office, this would still be done. I believed that before Trump won, before even when Kamala was running. I think the same thing would have been done. It may have been longer, but it would have been done. And I'm holding true to that thesis, that I think there was coming a correction to correct the U.S. off of our debt of 32 trillion now. Because then, if we ever get downgraded by Moody's from international for our bonds, right, then we can't trade or leverage our exports. So at some point, that change has to occur. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. And I know Skoll went to sleep or he's out tonight because he wasn't feeling good. But just to get that thoughts on that perspective. And then, of course, it's going to filter down. But then, if not now, then when? Because I've been forecasting it was going to happen now, no matter who won. And I agree with the delivery and the timing and how it's being sold or brought out. But I think the same thing would have occurred. It may have occurred 2 years into the term. Let's say if it was Kamala, it may have occurred 2 years into that. But I still think it would have occurred within 4 years. So your thoughts?
What do you mean? What do you say that would have occurred, LS?
Well, Mickey, did you catch most of it or not? Though I'm sorry, St. Jude. I just want to make sure. Mickey, did you
yeah, I
catch it?
did, and I
Oh,
just did a quick
okay,
a
okay.
Google.
So, Jude, I just wanted to make sure Mickey caught it, and then we can add on it because if she's got it, she can respond clearly, and then we can build on that for a little bit because that's been my
I just
thinking and
asked you
theory.
the word. What is going to occur? Is it job? Is it what? I just need a word
No, no,
so
no.
I can
Oh no,
understand
I
what you're
was
saying.
talking about overall because I am long-winded. A compliance to our 32 trillion debt, and then our compliance with Basel III. That's the Bank for International Settlement stress test. This is what they measure central banks, the
I
Federal
got it.
Reserve.
Okay. Got
Yeah,
it.
the Federal Bank of China, Bank of England, they all have to pass this, all Western and Eastern countries. And a lot of the Eastern countries have been pushing for this a long time to make a strict, because even though they trick their economy and manipulate their currency, they
I
still
got
been,
it, bro.
yeah, yeah. Okay, we're done. I'm not just talking to you, St. Jude. I want to make sure the room is clear as well. So,
Yeah, it looks like it was implemented in 2011, which would make sense, or an adaptation thereof. And basically, it deals with like capital requirements. So a lot of, when you see those little infomercials that say, when you give your money to the bank makes more money on it because they basically loan out your money. right, which is true. Like if you had $10 million in the bank and you showed up and said, I would like $10 million cash, it's unlikely that they would have $10 million in cash just sitting around. You would get your money, but it might take a while, right? Similar to if we do a wire and it takes what's supposed to be same day, or an ETF. I'm sorry, an EFT. I always confuse those in my head, or an ACH, which is basically a direct deposit. There was even some talk about same day settlements. I believe we have that similar in trading, and then also like for money transfers outside of wires, which uses the Fed fund system. However, I digress. I think what you were asking is if the banks are okay in asking if we implement the Basel III system, which
Well,
to me,
if we comply, there's a compliance to it, just so we're clear.
right, and it has to
Okay.
deal pretty much with higher um, capital reserves, right? Like to keep more of a certain percentage on hand, just in cash, and not loan that money out. But I think what we saw during COVID is that a lot of those restrictions were relaxed by the Fed, and I think the banks actually did a good job of providing a lot of liquidity for major funding projects that was going on. I actually believe in Jerome Powell and the Fed. I believe that we need a little bit of regulation to come with that free market. We need actual economists and not politicians that are making those decisions, to kind of oversee how that works, because that can quickly become very, very partisan. And I'm sorry, I'm one of those old school conservatives that believes that just because an American president has been very popular and was able to sway a large majority of uninsured, uninformed, uneducated Americans to vote for him does not mean that they have the authority, and the responsibility or even the audacity to oversee economic theory. I just don't, right? We've done just fine with the systems that we have in place. We've done just fine with the SEC and FINRA, which used to be the NASD, the National Association of Securities Dealers. We've done just fine with our reserve system. We've done just fine with our reserve banks, and I don't really wish to see that upended. It has helped us become a global economic superpower, um, unprecedented in modern history. It has helped our dollar be dominant. It has helped us continue to fund our military. It has helped us to fund programs like Social Security. Do we have a deficit? Absolutely. But outside of the Freedmen's Bureau, which is definitely a travesty within our community, and a large reason why a lot of African Americans are underbanked even today because of that financial trauma. Millions of dollars were lost to depositors at that time. That there really weren't that many times when U.S. banks failed, right? We had the 2008 bailouts, but Trump actually relaxed some of the laws that Obama put in place for mid-sized banks to have a lot of capital requirements as well, LS. And to me, that actually contributed to the failure of, I believe, the five banks that we saw during COVID, right? The one bank that was, two of them were crypto related banks because they basically wanted to do wires 24/7 like you do crypto, and that just never made sense to me. And of course, there's the bank that Peter Thiel infamously said, let's just do the run on, the Silicon Valley Bank. So banking and finance needs to be slow, right? Funding needs to be slow. People do not need quick and immediate access to capital unless you are well used to utilizing capital and funding. I am not one of those people that believes that throwing money at someone just by virtue of you calling yourself an entrepreneur, and this is a little bit of my republicanism coming out in me, money unbridled can cause a lot of problems. So I am not a proponent of that whatsoever. Do the paperwork, do your due diligence. Let's do background checks. Let's have proper funding committees, so to speak, and then let's see if you qualify for the money. I don't get emotional nor nostalgic about people wanting liquidity to start their new little revolutionary ideas to become the next Facebook. Eh, I'm not impressed.
Well, and thank you for that because that gave me some perspective. Because that not just Silicon Valley, but there was several banks around that time that also failed, and then they had to do the backstop. What was it, Janet Yellen, I believe, that said that. So that made me, I've been thinking this for a while, why Powell may not move in my little prediction here on interest rates, because they're trying to get a U.S. to comply. There's two different things. The Fed is independent. They will always be. But then they're dealing with Bezos, or they're dealing with the Bank for International Settlements. At the end of the day, that's who they really that's their boss. If you really look at it for central banks, it was created in the 1913 in the U.S., but if it's a central bank in a country, that's who they're reporting to. That compliance, sets the standard. And so I'm wondering what's really going on of something, because it may not, interest rates may not drop. He may not move on it. And if Trump fires him, that I think that just the optics won't happen. So it's interesting how I'm looking at this macro and micro and how it may play out for everyday people trying to figure it out, because there's going to be some shifting coming. And I think I'm not sure if the U.S. Again, I haven't Googled it, and maybe I'll do some research tomorrow at the office. If we've actually complied with Basel III. I know we relaxed the standards, and there was a moratorium, but I'm not sure if all banks have complied, and that would be the Federal Reserve saying the banks in the U.S. have complied completely with that, because these other countries keep pushing against it. And so maybe that's a reason for the tariffs. I don't even know, but okay, we went down woo-woo lane, and I'll
You,
stop.
you're talking about Basel three, not Bezos three.
Well, I
But
call it Basel. It is Basel. I said Geneva,
yeah,
Switzerland. I know it.
yeah,
I mean, it's in Switzerland. It's actually in Basel,
yeah.
Switzerland. Which, yeah.
I worked for a while on a bunch of software for banks who use. Anyway, I I have a different thought mindset as to why all this is happening. Um, I think from what I've observed as what's taking place just over the last 72 days, or even since the last election, this is a 100% Manchurian candidate who was sent to destroy this country from within by getting rid of all of the levers that hold up this place called the United States, all the administrative efforts, and then go after the economy and the markets. And this administration is systematically trying to knock down thing after thing. And this administration clearly doesn't understand macro and microeconomics. He's even said it himself. He doesn't understand how the market works. And it's if you look at every pretty much major Western entity, and there were other, you know, things that took place. But you look at Greece, Rome, and whatnot. It was they all devolved into chaos internally. It wasn't an outside entity that destroyed them. And I think this administration, since being in Russia in 1987, after he'd been bankrupt here in America, and then coming back flush with cash and able to spend $400 million and buy the Plaza Hotel in New York City, and then the first thing he comes out and says, "We need to get out of NATO," and he had never been political before then, and they're playing the long game out of Russia. And I think they have their Manchurian candidate in office who is trying to wreak as much havoc as fast as possible before our administrative and judicial state can stave it off, stop it, because the things that he's doing, he's saying, it makes no sense. The math that he was talking about today, it's just fallacy. Who's doing what, who's charging what in tariffs. It's it's all noise and lies, and it's all you can just pull up a Google search to see what the trade balance or imbalance is between Japan and China and this and that. And he was just pulling it out the air, just making it up. So yeah, this is the Manchurian candidate, and I submit to you and you, sir. I think you were former military. I don't know if you were an officer enlisted. This is 100% enemy of the state. We have an enemy of the state in the White House right now.
You really feel. This is actually why I was a fan of Clinton, even though he was a typical Democratic president, which means that, they just throw money at a problem. Whereas Republicans just withdraw money from their perceived problems. Is that I think that him being a bootstrap person actually gave him a better perspective. It's still astounding to me that the United States chose twice a president who is not representative of someone who holds himself accordingly as someone who is the elite does. He's a bit barbarian and uncouth. And I'm not sure how, as a billionaire, with someone as a wife who wasn't even born in this country, when we're literally talking about America first, you make a decision with America. Let me not go there.
He is a barbarian.
I just don't buy it. It
He
just
is
doesn't make sense to me.
he is a, he is a barbarian. His wife is an immigrant, just like Musk is an immigrant. Musk's 6 baby mamas are immigrants, um, or the children, and 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 between Elon Musk money and software that overturned those 7 states to get those electoral votes, this administration only won by 1.5%. So it wasn't a mandate, how they've been saying it. It wasn't a mandate. Trump is not a billionaire, and Elon Musk is not the richest man in the world. They just keep repeating this nonsense. It's just not true.
I mean, we'll see. I do agree that Chairman Powell, I believe if Donald Trump tries to remove him, that you have a lot of those Republican donors that are going to pitch a fight. They may pretend not to like Jerome Powell, who is a rhino. He is a very conservative Republican, and I love him to death. They know very well that during the Biden administration, because of COVID, these people have made more money, ridiculous, insane amounts of money. Even globally, the number of centimillionaires or people worth $100 million, like just look it up. It's just crazy how many people have reached these thresholds faster than probably any other period in the history of, our modern world, right? The market and the returns, like, and I'm not a fan of crypto, but people that got in early on Bitcoin, like even that Trump meme coin, you can literally make money with your phone. You got OnlyFans models that are making millions of dollars a month at baby. What are Kardashians? And I just don't think that the powers that be, the ones, the true billionaires that sit behind in the smoke filled rooms that are, the movers and the shakers behind the scenes, I don't think they want to see that disrupted. I
It's
really
not.
don't.
It's not going to happen. Think about every time in history in the United States in the 20th century when a assassination or an attempt took place on a modern elected official, and look what was behind it: the money. Look at Kennedy, the money. Just Reagan, the money. Think about that. So this is just noise. It's just noise. It's not going anywhere. And as it relates to entrepreneurship, I am big on funding and being funded for ideas to launch them into something that doesn't exist. So I'm very, very big on that. But that's just where I come from. And my last point, as far as these banks, this Peter Thiel thing, specifically in Silicon Valley, he is the person that caused the run on the bank after Elizabeth Warren pushed for the FT, I think, what is it, FTIC, whatever the thing is called, and Obama put it in, and they were pushing to relax the rules on banking. It was Thiel directly in Silicon Valley who caused all this ruckus in Silicon at the Silicon Valley Bank. There's another bank in San Francisco called First Republic. I think it's First Republic Bank. It is where it's where the wealthy go and stash their money and can withdraw millions of dollars within a short amount of time. But yeah, it was Thiel, Silicon Valley Bank, who caused this ruckus by telling LPs to tell their venture backed entities to take your money out. And so now you had founders who were backed by venture backed entities as well as LPs, and it all happened at the same time. And they were teetering around in the crypto space and doing things. And I don't think it's right to actually involve any type of crypto or electronic currency attached to any fiat central bank anything. It's a recipe for disaster. Crypto space is 100% speculative. that's backed by basically how people are trading things globally. Um, and any electronic currency that's on a market in the US or any country that says we have to look inside and see what's going on is not cryptocurrency. That's why Coinbase is a horrible thing. I hope it dies or dies quickly. The whole concept of cryptocurrency is the fact crypto, mind your own business. You don't need to know what we're doing, but it does not need to be tied to any U.S. anything. It should be its own separate siloed thing that's separate from any monetary quantitative easing anywhere in the world that people buy and sell directly. All this other stuff is just a recipe for disaster. And I have been in Bitcoin since 2011. So yeah,
Ty, but I want to say one thing. Also with Silicon Valley and the crypto thing is a separate nature. I understood that they were trading future currencies as well, not crypto, fiat currencies. Like they were dark pooling a lot of money for the overnight exchange for the LIBOR, if I'm correct, and they got caught. What we would call margin calls in a sense on hedging. Versus that's why I brought up Basel III because they're not supposed to do that with consumer dollars.
you're
And
right.
in
You're
my
absolutely right.
understanding, I mean, with our dollars deposited, in my understanding is that what's triggered the LPs. I'm not talking about, I know Peter Thiel put it out there. That's what triggered them saying, pull your LPs out of the money because how solvent were they? And it wasn't just, I just want to be clear on that, my understanding of the record, it wasn't just crypto. They were trading a lot of things to make that spread and margin so that they could show profitability for the bank. And bankers aren't supposed to be doing that. They're just supposed to keep your money in the bank and that's it. If you're going to make money off my money, disclose it to me.
Yeah, there was all kinds of skullduggery taking place after the loosening, and it was the not mid market, not the large banks, the not super small banks, the mid banks. They were able to loosen regulations as far as how much on deposit and what was going on did they actually have to have, and they pushed it and pushed it and pushed it to the threshold. And Teal, specifically Teal, who lived in Silicon Valley and moved to LA. Remember the guy when he was funding Zuckerberg when Zuckerberg first came out? What's his face was pissed off at him. What's the guy's name from Napster? Sean Parker. Sean Parker was the one who took Zuckerberg to Peter Thiel to get his first A round. I think. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
his A.
his first seed, not his A, his seed. The
Okay.
500,000 seed that bought him 7%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and cause I remember when I was around, I was in the city, and I was like, and I saw the guy around, and he was a young guy, and then he rode that pony, and this was after, right during or after the PayPal days, because these guys was around, and the guy from YouTube, the founder of YouTube, the founder of LinkedIn, Elon. It was like 12, 15 guys that came out of that thing before the eBay situation. But
You're referencing PayPal Mafia. Is what it actually is called, the
yes,
PayPal Mafia now. Yeah, PayPal Mafia.
that's the name they gave themselves. These guys were a bunch of dweebs
Correct, correct. But
who
it's the
trying to
way
look
so the
cool.
room can reference it. It's the way
Oh,
so the room
okay,
can reference it.
all
Yeah, yeah.
right. But yeah, I remember I see them around. I was like, these clowns, these dweebs. They're Asperger nerds. That's why when I said to Grant, I was like, these guys are Asperger ass clowns. I mean, and they want to be cool and they think having money makes them cool, and it doesn't. Anyway, so Teal went on. Teal wrote a paper. Him and that other ass clown, David Sachs, who's a racist South African piece of white trash, on why affirmative action is bad. He put it in the Stanford newspaper because I was there in '09. I remember this, and it got a lot of feedback. Anyway, so fast forward, this guy makes his money, goes on to fund Palantir. Palantir is the company that was used for data mining. It was the company how the U.S. government busted Bernie Madoff. If you guys remember Bernie Madoff back in the day, not too long ago. So these guys have been doing skullduggery around the planet for a long time and trying to finally get their hands in the mix and get their hands on government dollars. And it was, for those who don't know, check out InQtel, INQTEL. They're the NSA's VC funding arm for a lot of stuff in Silicon Valley. They keep it quiet. So they were able to get money. Musk got money for funding his for Tesla, for getting his boring company, for SpaceX contracts, for Starlink. So this is all government. Most of this is government money, and he got it back, Mickey, from VCs or investors who said, "Okay, we're going to give you some money because we know you're going to go with these contracts and pay us back." And he's pushing and pushing and pushing. So he's on the government dole. That's how he's making his money. Um, Teal is inside with Sachs, working as the crypto czar. So I mean, these guys, they like big pockets of money. They hate black people, and they're doing everything they can to shape their South African de Klerk worldview here in the United States. And they're all immigrants.
Yeah, it reminds me almost like of the robber barons, like during the Gilded Age. Because what's interesting to me, I thought about the United States is that we always recognize the little guy, that, comes here with this great dream, like Sam Walton, right? Such a great American story. And even Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, I love his story, right? He still goes back to that Denny's where he started as a busboy. And now, he's over one of the most valuable companies in the world. And to say that we have fallen in love as a nation in worship for a man with tacky gold plated faucets, it just astounds me even to this day when I think about it just for a moment. Remember when Bush Sr. couldn't even figure out how to go through the self checkout aisle? And they killed him for that. Oh my God, he's so far removed from the average American. He doesn't even know how to go to the grocery store.
I remember that. I remember that.
How
But he also didn't know the price of a gallon of milk at the time.
Right. He didn't. And they murderized him. And remember when Romney's wife, bless her goofy little heart, when she did that interview and she wore that ugly designer t shirt with the bass on it that was like $400. And she was talking about how, what did she say? Something really dumb, like her maid drove a Cadillac or something. And Americans were so incensed, like so incensed, because at that time it was like, quiet wealth was in. And how did we get to this ugly, gaudy individual? I just, ugh.
Who
I
married a stripper?
cannot.
He
It's
married a stripper.
No, 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 no. But Ty, and Mickey, you guys forget, right? And too bad Cindy's asleep because she's not here. The '80s, well, the movie Wall Street, like you had Reagan in, and for a lot of people, let's say it took about till '83, right? Because I think, if I remember correctly, '79 Carter, was a problem. Reagan came in, got the Iran hostages out.
It wasn't
Then
a
it took.
problem. That was a hustle,
Well, yeah.
brother.
Well, no, I'm just saying. Hold on. It was a problem that he couldn't solve. I'm talking about Carter though.
It
On
was it,
during
it was a problem because the senior Bush, who was the head of the CIA,
Well, we
made
know
sure
that.
that they
Hold
helped
on,
the
Ty. I
hostages.
got you, but Ty, hold on. Let me just land this point. You know what? I was going to say this earlier because I'm about to go to sleep, but we should really have, and I can't host it, but I love you guys to be a debate the news alternative history or whatever version. I don't want to just call it conspiracy, but
Call it a
how
new
things
name.
really work. How
Call it
things really work. But yeah,
call it
I
call
I'm
call
aware
it
of that.
call it
I'm
U.S.
aware of that though.
civics. U.S.
Right, right.
civics.
But I'm aware of that. I'm aware of what happened with Carter. But I was trying to talk about what Mickey's point was. I'm trying to be, what is it? Jonathan said I need to be articulate and distinct. That means short and quick. So basically, I think Mickey. So Walt, Reagan came in and it's 82 or right after his assassination was 81, 82 or something. But it took about till 83 for the economy to start picking up. And then we start going into the Wall Street. Remember the movie Wall Street, Michael Douglas. Greed is good. That for the wealthy, I wasn't wealthy at all. I mean, hell no. it just rode the lines. And I think that's where you saw more of that coming from, Mickey. Like they just start putting it out there. Like, let me show you how much I have. And, I don't know, because you're right. The world, I mean, Sam Walton would drive his truck. Walmart's founder would drive his truck and park on the first floor.
They have no more shame.
Yeah, well, I don't know who that was. Yeah, he would drive his truck, park on a pickup truck, just a regular pickup truck, had an office in Arkansas, and would drive to work every day and work every day and leave and then have lunch with everyone. It was just, even though you didn't know, and even Warren Buffett for a long time, this, Ty and Mickey, I'm sure, that his own kids didn't know he was a billionaire because they lived in the same house they were born in. And he's like, why is that going to change for you?
I think he still does, except he is a driver now because he auctioned off his car a while ago. But I
Well, I'm
love
saying,
how,
but this
That
is when he was
Cadillac.
first a billionaire. This is when he was, this is way, way back before he became.
oh, the Oracle of
Who
Omaha.
has an open?
No.
Yeah, who has an open mic?
Hmm.
Yeah, before he became the Oracle of Omaha. This is when his kids were living with him, and they picked up a magazine. They were in high school, if I remember correctly, and they did not know that their dad, because he may have been worth 1 billion or something. He was a billionaire, but very small. And they were like, "You're a billionaire. Why don't we have cars?" Because they were riding bikes to school, buses, whatever. He's like, "Ain't nothing going to change."
I love Warren Buffett. When he started entering into pop culture, like remember this was a few decades ago, like he had lunch with Jay-Z. I was like, that is so cute because
I
he didn't have
remember
to
that.
do stuff
I
like
remember
that.
that.
Yeah, and they auctioned his car, and then I think he gave two people um, at the company like they had perfect brackets, so he gave like $1 million to him.
He taught
Um,
Jay Z. That's how Jay Z became who he is. He
yep,
taught him actually how it worked.
I just love Warren Buffett. It's so cute. I want to cry and I need to go to one of those. I just have the little baby chairs, not the big bubba, but I
It
want to
doesn't
go to one
matter.
of those. Me,
Still
I
go.
know, just to go to one.
Still
I'm really
go.
need to do that because he's not going to be here, and I know I'm just going to cry and cry and cry every time he says Charlie. I'm just like, oh, Charlie's
Yeah.
gone.
Charlie's
Charlie's
gone.
gone. I love Warren Buffett. He's like that. That's such a great American story. He spoke about the tariffs, and sure enough, when him going to take a huge cash position, he already knew what was going to come. He already knew that it was going to be um, some foolishness. But it's all of this to say, like, I still don't really know how we got here. I don't get the fascination. Remember how Americans, y'all? Because I remember when, because I'm Gen X, I'm older when Princess Diana married Prince Charles, and some of us got to stay home to watch it. Like that was such a big deal with her big train. But then there was kind of like this backlash because Americans were very haughty on the fact that we didn't worship a king, like that was y'all over there.
And we never have and never will.
And they're worshiping Trump. They got
It's
tattoos. They're putting things on their cars. They're
it's a
rapping their cars. They're
that's
singing rap songs. Like,
that's a
oh
certain
my
that's a certain
god!
so America, the United States of America, for the most part, has in my lifetime has
What happened? Did he just go quiet? The Secret Service come and get him?
I said
Ty?
no. I'm sorry. I said it's ghetto, unlearned. They don't know civics.
Oh, well, no, we lost you for like 2 minutes, Ty.
Okay, I
We
said
didn't
all
hear
right.
anything.
Sorry. They're ghetto, unlearned, underlearned. They don't know U.S. civics. They have no understanding of history, and they are, in the nicest way I can say, radically low rent. That's Trump and his crowd and people who follow him. No matter how much education, book education they have, they don't understand U.S. history and world history and how things were and how we got to where we are. And they're pushing, I don't have, so it's somebody else's fault. And yet they preach all the time about self responsibility. But yet soon they will be in soup lines, a la like the Depression. They'll lose their farms, their cows. They will lose their businesses, their houses, and be homeless and in the streets. And I am looking forward to it. May
Well,
you
Ty,
reap.
I want to say one
May
thing
you
to
reap
push.
the benefits of your vote.
Well, I want to say one thing though. I mean, we were talking about it early before you came in the room. I do take a more chat version of the both sides being good and how to pivot and profit. That's why this room is here. Like, learn from it because there's been the Great Depression. There's been all these things, and I forgot who said it earlier. I mean, I think it was chat. Like, complacency, because I am former military as well. Complacency can set in for to any human being, to any human being, to any collective, to any country, to any empire. And when that complacency sets in, no matter who you are or what you do, then you become, metaphorically fat and lazy in my terms. And I'm not talking to anyone. I'm not talking about any human being. I said metaphorically. So the reason why what was there was a cartoon a long time ago, maybe you guys can help me. What was it? Gosh, it was actually automated too. I can't think of it now. It was where they didn't do okay. So it was an animation movie. I think it was by Disney. It wasn't Wally. I'm not sure if it was Wally. Where they basically sat the people sat in chairs and didn't do anything, and robots and everything. It was techie. Everything did everything.
Wally.
What was it?
Wally.
So the movie was Wally then. Yeah, okay, so I was right. Yeah, where the people didn't do anything. All they did was consume and enjoy and entertain themselves. And in the movie, I think I forgot how it ended. They took over. And I remember watching it with my son many years ago. He's in college now, but like you never want to be like this. I never want to be like this unless God forbid if you're handicapped or something happens. But this was the population at the time, and that's an older movie, and it tripped me out that they put that out there because everything was done almost like the Jetsons, and their brains just started deteriorating first and foremost, then their bodies and everything else. So I think I look at it as a wake up call. That's how I look at it.
I might be drunk tomorrow if I look at the markets. So if I come on here just being very loud and trying to speak in patois French, someone just be kind and drop me and kick me from the room.
Okay, I will. I got your back.
I'm serious. I'm gonna be drunk on apple juice, but it pretty much has the same effect. So there you go.
That's if I'm in here.
Thank you, Makita. Good night, y'all. Let's not be afraid. It's gonna be okay. I'm not retiring tomorrow. Thank y'all. Bye bye.
Night, Mickey.
So I have a question for you guys. Um, Taiwan, was Taiwan on that list?
I'll look it up. Hang on.
Yeah, guys, I'm sitting here. I mean, we're sitting here. It's like people are making excuses for Donald Trump, excuse after excuse after excuse. Every time something happened, people were saying that, oh well, he is going to be good for us. This guy, I don't know. Donald Trump has done so many things that wasn't good for us. I mean, he didn't handle COVID the right way. He didn't do a lot of shit that's good for us. But every time we turn around, it's like every time we turn around, you guys are saying that, oh, it's going to be good for us. Everything that he's done, the people on his side is saying, oh, it's going to be good for us. And nothing has been good for us yet. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what's been good for us since he's been in office. I don't know what's been good for us.
There's been a few small things. I
Like what?
mean, so I feel like people organizations are more emboldened for like the gender stuff with the sports now. Like I feel like that was like a dead conversation or just people complaining about it rather than like rules being changed. So I feel like people are more emboldened to act on those things now because they know they have an administration that backs them. That might be the only thing I can call out though, if I'm honest.
I just like okay. All right, the tax. Okay, in terms of what he did with the taxes. Okay, the tax bill he gave the wealthy the tax break. His first administration. How he screwed everyone in the blue states when he did the mortgage exemption in terms of yeah, we couldn't. It's just ridiculous for our taxes, real estate taxes. Um, guys, it's just the way he handled COVID, mishandled COVID. And everyone's talking about he had a great economy. He didn't have a great economy. He had Obama's economy. And so now we're sitting here, guys, right now. Biden handed him an economy, and people are gonna say, "Oh, it was bad." It wasn't a bad economy. It was actually a pretty darn good economy. Biden handed him, and in 70 days, he's gonna muck it up. Come on, guys. He's out there with lists. It's like every country in the world is allying with someone else other than us. The only people, I mean, only all we're gonna have left is Russia, and it's crazy that he accomplished that in 70 days. But yet, everyone's like saying, "Oh, everything's normal. This is the way it should have been. This is the way it should have been." So I don't know.
Yeah, same thing with a new car. I mean, it's new until somebody crashes it or scratches it or does something wrong. It doesn't take long at all, but it is jarring to me how many people are just on board with it and not even attempting to help him do things in a way that makes sense. And that could be because of the way he's kind of cleaned house and put in his own people that don't have knowledge and expertise in those areas. That's probably what the real issue is here.
This guy obviously lied about Project 2025. People are saying the lies that he's done, and once again they're excusing. There's an excuse for everything. There's a reason for every season. So as we sit here and we listen to this, it's crazy, guys. This guy came out and put tariffs all over. And guys, listen to me. You guys don't have to listen to me. We all got a pay cut today. We all got a pay cut, and people are saying, "No, we didn't." All right, everything he's promised to do, he hasn't done. And I understand this early on. Okay, so we don't have no tax on tips. We don't have no tax on overtime. Okay, but what we do have is tariffs. That's going to cost us a lot more money. No legislative accomplishments. Okay, the only thing is he's been doing is executive orders. This isn't, you know, this is not legislative. This is not running a government. It's not. He just part in a corporation. Did you guys see that?
No, Taiwan is on the list. I put a link in the chat. But what corporations were pardoned?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. Trump part in a corporation. One moment here. Give me one more. It's crazy. 1 second here. Trump Partners Corporation. Give me one moment. Let me find it.
Yep, you're good. Yeah, it just boggles my mind. Like, and it's fine that he's not doing these things. I feel like, just like with any job, most people are going to overpromise and underdeliver. But at what point do people start to call out, "Hey, you said you were able to do this, and we're not getting this done, or this isn't shaping up the way we thought it would." Like, I just feel like so much grace is being given here. Like, so much grace will continue to be given until we are ran into the fucking ground and this country isn't recognizable anymore. That's a concern that I have. and it may be too late to piece it back together. I think there's an arrogance too. Like people think like we're in such a good position that we can't fuck up things to a point where they're irreparable, but that's not true. We can absolutely wind up not being a first world country anymore.
So one territory that is on the list for the tariffs is the Australian territory of Heard and the McDonald Islands, which is uninhabited by humans but is home to colonies of seals and penguins. So we are tariffing the seals and the penguins as well.
That's a wreck.
This right here, guys. Let's see here.
And Jonathan, I have to give you some props tonight.
What's that?
That music was seamless with Mickey when she was going on her little rant, and then Grant doing his improv.
Uh,
It was almost rap. I was quite impressed.
let's see here. He makes history. It is right here. He made history by being the first president of the partner corporation on Friday. BitMEX. BitMEX is who he partnered. It's a crypto exchange.
Mm.
So, guys, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I was looking at that. Now, guys, you know what's interesting, and I'll get back to the Trump thing is, you remember, I don't know if you were in nursery when we were speaking about the young man that left his kids at McDonald's and walked to the job interview.
No, I wasn't in here for that.
Did you hear about that?
No, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, so he had a 10-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
Ugh.
And so what he did was he left the kid at McDonald's. He walked to McDonald's, left the kid at McDonald's so he can go to a job interview. And when he went to the job interview and came back, while he's at the job interview, someone called the police and ratted him out.
Mm.
And so they
All
called,
three of the kids were left in the McDonald's.
yeah, at the
Yeah,
playground.
that's wild.
He left him at
Oh
the
yeah,
playground,
yeah, that's
like
wild.
inside the playground. Um, but he just did that to go to a quick job interview because he didn't have a car.
Mm-hmm.
So he walked the kids to McDonald's, fed them, and then let them stay in a play area while he run to the job interview real fast. And so someone called the police on him, and the police came. And by the time he got back, they locked him up, and they had called the mother. The mother had to come get him. Now the mother's at work as well.
Mm.
So he just came from when after he left the job interview. He got there, and so they locked his ass up. Now,
Jonathan, there's been an update.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Go
yeah.
ahead.
So anyway, Antonio Brown put a GoFundMe, and right now that GoFundMe is at $75,000. Okay, what was the update, guys?
According to what was shared in the room with two earlier, the police went and did investigations and found that he did not go to an interview. He was actually carrying around a book bag that he was going to deliver something. The children, the 10-year-old called her mother. And again, this is what was shared in the room. The 10-year-old called her mother, connected with her through social media. And that's how the mom was going to get them. But the mom reported that he was never supposed to leave them. He was supposed to be taking the book bag to her mother.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah,
What? What?
it's a whole lot of stuff. But
Okay, Chris.
basically they
Hold
said
on.
that what we thought wasn't true.
Okay, so let's find out. Chris Lewis. Did anyone do any? What's call it on that? Let's see. Chris Lewis, Augusta.
Yeah,
Okay,
Adrian read it in the room. It's just late, so I just want to make sure you
hold
knew
on.
there
Let's
was
see.
an
Let's see.
update.
I want to see it update. All right. Let's see. Update. Okay, I got an update here. Let's see here.
I was disappointed.
Okay. So, formerly, child neglect case where police question his alibi. Video footage contradicts Chris' claim of leaving his children down for driving in. Hidden hotel footage shows Chris arrived an hour earlier to claim they claimed to her job in the uniform. Okay, video footage seems to contradict Augustus' man claim he left. Okay, new details about Chris Lewis Wells' whereabouts surfaced on Wednesday as the former collected more than $50,000 online. Charged the hotel. Let's see something. Lewis story drew attention of former Pittsburgh Steeler Antonio Brown. Let's see. Named donation sought according to Lewis while he waited for a callback, hopefully asking for a job interview at nearby West Bank Inn. However, the officer body cam footage and witness testimony helped construct a different narrative. According to Captain, the follow-up investigation continued with Lewis says Lewis and the children walked to McDonald's. Okay. So they heard Lewis on the phone at 4:30. Said he had to drop something off. Later determined to be a black backpack. The daughter called the mother who reached McDonald's about 6:12 and called Lewis, who said he was on his way back. He showed up 6 minutes later, still holding the backpack. During his errand, he said he lost his ID. Another car tried from the steps, couldn't find him. The manager at Westwick Inn confirmed that Lewis had filled out a job application that day, but the hotel shows he was still there about 3 hours before witness placed him. And it showed him in the restaurant. So he did fill out a job application. Are you there?
No, they said, I don't know if you've got the same report because Adrian read it verbatim. He said that he went next door to fill out an application and that he put in an application with McDonald's. But when they talked to McDonald's, they said it was a few days or weeks ago.
No, but this one
Um,
just no. They said he filled out an application here right now. I just read it just now that day, and they said a
But,
few hours, but they saw him there a few hours before.
but
But
why
that's
didn't he
just
just?
So the police department released a statement. Do you want me to read it?
go ahead. That's it.
Yeah.
I heard what the police department said. I want to hear what the hotel said. Because look, a manager at the West Bank Inn confirmed that Lewis had filled out a job application that day. But hotel video shows he was there about 3 hours before witness placed him and the children at the McDonald's. Oh,
He's a liar.
oh
Yeah.
no, it said in the statement that he was waiting. It said he was waiting or something, right?
So they said, based on the video evidence and the timeline provided by all parties involved, it was determined that Mr. Lewis was not engaged in a job interview or application process during the time the children were left unattended. Furthermore, by his own admission, he was walking between McDonald's and the Hendricks apartments on foot during that period.
so so the ninja was lying, huh?
Yeah, he was probably with a side piece and was smart enough not to take kids with him.
Yeah,
But,
he lied,
but
but you
why
know
didn't
what
he
he
just?
proved though? He proved that if people want to help somebody, they will.
But why
What
didn't he just
happened?
leave the
Hey,
kids
for
at the
what?
house? That's the
I
question.
said if people want to help someone, they will. In regards to the money that was raised for him and everything, like for a good cause, you know.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy.
I mean, I
I
still don't
told you
know if
I
it,
was disappointed. I'm sorry. I told you I was disappointed after hearing that because I gave him the benefit of the doubt.
it is disappointing, but I still don't know if that necessarily warrants the charge personally. Like Sheree was saying, we were talking the other day, there's a lot of people in a lot of different communities that leave younger children unattended and they're fine. So I still don't know if I agree with that charge.
So I think at a minimum, it's negligence or child endangerment. And I hate to be like that, but the reality is, if that 1 year old started choking or something, there was nothing that 10-year old was going to be able to do. I mean, maybe the 10-year old would have known the Heimlich, but it's not Heimlich at that age. You have to kind of like flip the baby upside down. It's just like a horrible, worst case scenario. The 10-year old was not equipped to manage that with a 1 year old. If it was like a 10-year old and an 8 year old, I'd feel like a little better. Like, at least it's two able bodied kids that know how to like go to the bathroom and tell an adult if they need help or if something's wrong.
Yeah, you're right. A 1 year old, you really need to watch a 1 year old and be consistently attentive.
Yeah.
Hey, Jonathan, are you there?
Yep, you got that.
Sheree, what did you think about the kids in my neighborhood? Did you see how small they were?
Yeah, I think kids, guys, listen to me. I would never leave my kids that young. Like we're soft on kids. Kids were doing a lot more back in the day, and I hate to say it, but poor kids seem like that be able because they have to adapt. They seem like they're more better prepared and suited for dealing with what's going out there than kids that are well off. I don't know, but yeah, I saw that 100%. I saw that, Sheree.
Nurse share the I was showing on camera yesterday. So I lived in a Hasidic community for like 10 years, and those kids are share. You wouldn't even believe it. Sometimes you'll see like a 7 year old with a double stroller, and then a little 3 year old holding on to one side of that stroller, and then another kid on the other side of that stroller, and like the 7 or 8 year old is in charge. And I'm not exaggerating. It's phenomenal. They're in the stores with the grocery
Wow.
list. They're typically the parents tell them they typically run like from like when they leave the stores. A lot of them they run back home. They don't walk, but I'm telling you, you see the double stroller with 7 year olds, 8 year olds. It's phenomenal. I want to like make a documentary of it.
That's so cool.
Man, ain't nobody touching those thug kids.
I don't
Those
know
are
how
those are
I don't know
monster babies.
I don't know how thuggish they are.
The books for all the Italians. What was his name?
Say that again.
Who held the books for all the Italians?
Um, the
Meyer Lansky. Ain't nobody touching those thug kids.
these are the this is the Hasidic Jewish community.
I thought Meyer Lansky was Jewish.
I I'm not sure.
He was their Jewish accountant. They did
Oh,
all the accounting.
the accountant. Okay,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought.
they hold all the books for all the, you know what, I'm not going into that tonight, but I'm just going to say that the Jewish community knows how to count coins, and they did it for a lot of people legally and illegally, which puts them in the same boat, but not in the limelight.
I mean, Jay, it's not. It's 2025. I feel like that. There's been a shift. I feel like it's not like the old days in New York, like it used to be.
You remember when Kanye said something about the Jewish community?
No,
And he
no,
was a
I was
billionaire,
no,
and then all of a sudden he's close to broke. Well, no, he's not close to broke. I'm close to broke.
no.
He's not close to broke, but he's definitely got chopped down in net worth. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Nobody's touching those kids. I wouldn't touch those kids. I wouldn't even say hi. I'd be
No,
too.
it's
I'd be too scared.
unbelievable. And the neighborhood, you guys. So, okay, so my building was like, luxury building, garage, and everything. Across the street is Marcy Projects, where Jay Z grew up. To the left, the next block is a Latino block. To the right is Hasidic, and then like one, two, three, four, five, like eight Hasidic apartment buildings that if you're not Hasidic, you're not moving in. It's just an incredible incredible neighborhood. And you think like with the housing project there, and like I'm in this fancy building across the street from the projects, and the mixture is just it's really unbelievable. But let me tell you, those kids, the Jewish kids, they leave their bikes out. Jay, you're right. Actually, you're making me think more about it. Nobody touches their bicycles. And, the kids that you would think, would do, bother them or steal their bikes or something, nobody touches them. It's really a dynamic neighborhood. And then the hipsters. And you got like all these hipsters because there's I can't think of the school right now. Anyway, there's an art school not too far away, college. So it's just, I love it actually.
Yeah, and that's great that they have that like sense of community where they can do that and feel safe and apparently don't get bothered. So that is great that they have that.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about it. And I talked to this guy one time, and I said to him, we got really friendly, and he's like not as religious as some of the other people. And I asked him, I said, why is it that it sometimes feels like, your folks don't really intertwine with others? And he said, it's not that at all. Yet they're still kind and, peaceful. He said, it's not that at all. He said, one of the pillars of our religion is that we take care of our own. We're taught to take care of our own the same way that we would take care of ourselves. And he said it's not so much that we exclude others, but it's that sense of community and the tradition. You know what I love about Judaism is, so you guys know how we have our shit. Like, I don't like my sister. I don't. I'm not talking to Joey. Well, guess what? The family doesn't give a fuck. You're coming Friday night dinner. You're coming to shul. You're coming to holiday. You're coming to Purim. You're gonna come and you're gonna sit there and you're gonna get along, and everybody's gonna get along. Everybody's gonna help build each other's businesses one by one. And there is no I don't get along with her. Too fucking bad. You better be there Friday night for Shabbat. And I just love that. I love that tradition. It's beautiful.
I'm sorry, I'm dying over here because I grew up Jewish. And I'm like, I don't know who told you that, but
That's what I see.
that is just a fun. That is, I can't. Oh my God, I could lead a whole room on that one. That's a little bit exaggerated. There is more Michigas, which is like craziness. And oh my God, no. Maybe some Hasidic, maybe some Orthodox, but there is, yeah, Michigas, there is internal competition like you never imagined. Um, don't even get me started. So I'm here with my grandson. I have to be quiet, but I
Oh,
was literally dying laughing. If you had a, you could be a fly on the wall in my family. No, no, yeah, no.
but what about tradition?
And
What about the
and
holidays
we
and
were on
Friday night?
boards. We built synagogues. We were presidents of synagogues. We were, I mean, reform, conservative, orthodox. Uh, there's still all the shit that happens in every family.
Of course.
And yes, do they get together around the Passover Seder?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know about every Shabbat and even some Orthodox families. Things are a little different. The Hasidic, maybe, but there's a lot of business challenges and, but it is a tight community, but there's a lot of shit too.
I'm sure there is, but it's the tightest community that I've ever experienced. I grew up around Jewish people my entire life since like pre-K, And I just say, compared to other communities, like the Black community, for example, I just see more tradition there that I wish I had. I happen to have a close knit family, which is exceptional. My family, my dad's family, we traced our family back to four slaves who came to America. Three were sold to one family called Gibbs. One was sold to another family called Cummings. So we traced the lineage back through census, and we hired a genealogist. And we have like, there's like the North Atlantic chapter, the West Coast chapter. We have a president. We have like elections and meetings, and we pay dues. We have all kind of trips and stuff. So that's exceptional. But I don't know. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I just feel like, I mean, one, I totally agree and identify with that. And my mom like did that too, traced it back as far as she could, to figure out who the lineage was. But slavery was just so tough on our community. Like, and not that the Holocaust was not tough, but they didn't lose their language, their religion, their culture. So it's a much different dynamic that we have, and I agree that is beautiful that you're able to witness that, and definitely something that I've longed for too. I mean, and even if you do have those traditions and stuff in your family, like, you always wonder, is that what your original ancestors were doing? Is that the same thing they were celebrating? Are you subscribing to the same religion that they were? Like, it's just a lot of questions there.
It's
Yeah.
interesting because there was so much anti-Semitism. I grew up in Atlanta, right, in Memphis, and the tightness of the Jewish community partially was because there was the WASPs were not, they didn't accept the blacks, they didn't accept the Jews. It's just facts. Now, the Jewish community was very focused on education, very focused. The reason that Jews control Wall Street and finance and banking was because they couldn't get into other industries. So there's a lot and lawyers, right? There's a lot of Jews in consulting and law and Ivy League schools and those types of things. Now there was also resources, right? There were financial resources in order to do that they leaned into. They were also incredible entrepreneurs, and also so like from the food to the tailors, right? The Lower East Side.
The
So
Diamond District.
yep, the diamond, yep, exactly. So it's interesting. Um, but yeah, I mean, you got A's in my house, or you were basically deemed like I literally used to have to study all night long because I was saddled between two brainiacs that it came easy to them. And from the time I was a little kid, I was studying all night freaking long to bring home A's and be the MVP of the team. Now that paid off, but intense, intense.
And there are things that I see in my neighborhood like you would see nowhere else. Like if there's a Jewish person who needs a ride somewhere, they literally just wave each other down and jump in the car, hop in the car, and go. Um, and that maybe that's specific to my neighborhood. And and then there's just so many different types of Jewish people. I'm sure Laura, you could weigh in on there. There's Hasidic Jewish here. We've got Sephardic. We've got oh gosh, so many Israeli Jews. We got Russian Jews. We got there's just so many. I can't even think of all of them now, but a lot of them are not and were not tied to the Holocaust or have family members who actually, you guys, I have a little project I would like to do. I asked Jonathan about it, but I'm not really the person to do it. My friend's grandpa is a Holocaust survivor. Sorry, guys, and I would love to interview him. First of all, for her dumbass, because I would say she's a good friend, but she is just not the sharpest tool in the shed. Still love her to death, but I'm like, girl, you need to document your grandpa's story. He was like left for dead. He saw. It's hard to even say? He saw
Yeah,
his.
anytime you want to do that, if you want me to
Oh, I
be
wish
their
someone.
co-host,
I
I'd
wish
be happy
someone.
to do it.
I wish someone else would interview him. I
I
really
could
do.
do it with you. I'd be happy to. I'd be honored. There's very few people from the
Hmm.
Holocaust because now they were kids during that time that
Yep.
are still alive because they're in
Yep.
their late 80s and 90s or even, like they're really old.
Yeah.
So
I would
it's,
really like someone
yeah,
to do that. I would love to do that. Would you guys? I mean, like, would
yeah,
people be interested in hearing that story?
I would
I
do it
would
on,
for sure.
yeah,
I would too,
yeah. I think
definitely.
if we do it with a few different communities here where we overlap and make sure that we get 10 or 20 or 30 people in the room, or we do it. Uh,
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
can I make a recommendation?
yeah.
go
Wait for
ahead,
V
James.
two. But that was it. That was it. Wait for V2. That would be one of the great. Wait for V2 and a little bit more people in a room than just 30, because that's worth it.
I was going to say maybe it's another spinoff of DTN to interview some really amazing people. I don't know what you would call it, but I'm sure it would draw an audience.
It makes me kind of hurt my stomach, but it's almost a uh, extension of true crime because some of this stuff around the Holocaust and slavery and
Yeah,
some
war
of those
crimes and
things,
stuff.
right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So getting Adrian and Joseph and those guys involved, but having maybe some guest hosts that have a direct relation to that. I mean, I grew up going to oh my gosh, so many movies, so much learning about the Holocaust. It's just like if you go to any film festival, Jewish film festival, um, so they're hard to watch sometimes, but it is important. But when I was growing up, it was like, never forget. So that was the time that I grew up in. My
Yeah.
kids, not as much, they a little bit different generation.
Hmm. We had a lot of that like built into our curriculum, and I remember, I mean, like we read the Diary of Anne Frank and Schindler's List and watched the movie, and it was built into our curriculum like throughout the school year. And then in the spring, we went to the Holocaust Museum. Um, so I hope they still do stuff like that. I think it's important.
If you're ever in Miami, there is the most incredible. There was a very wealthy Jewish family in Miami, and they donated their land and turned when they passed away, I think, and there was or a family or something like that, and there's a Holocaust memorial, and it's like a botanical garden. It gives me chills. I was with some folks about a month ago, and we went through a bike ride about 6 weeks ago, a bike ride from Miami to South Beach, and we went through it, and it was chilling. And they have all of these people that were Holocaust survivors when they pass away. These are survivors that now are passing away, and they have them etched into a memorial. Because you often see memorials about people that died during the Holocaust, but not the survivors. So it was. I'm gonna have to put it in a link in the chat. That thing was unbelievable. And then there's this area that's like an echo chamber. So you go into it, and you like people can it's a weird like echoing, kind of like you're talking but you can't. Other people other people can't hear, but you can hear, almost like you're screaming right from inside the camps or something like that, but nobody can hear you. It's really really chilling.
Interesting. I'll have to look into that. I never heard of that.
Yeah, I would really like to do that interview though, because like my friends, her kids, so her daughter's probably, let me see, she said double digits, so she's probably 11 now. The other one's 6, and they don't know anything about Judaism. They don't know anything about her religion and her heritage. And I'm like, girl, your daughters need to know this, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put this in the chat. The other thing I have is a hand going, and it's all these people. It's the most chilling. I don't know if you can look at that link. Let me see if I can get the website. It's crazy. It's like a hand going up into the air, and it's all individual, like skeletons of people. It's like, whoa, that's crazy. To be there in person was crazy. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah, you'll see it. There's like a little slideshow, but if you look at it's really hard to see it on the website. But, but remember, like when Roots came out, how big a deal that was when that movie came out. I was,
Heck yeah.
and speaking of movies separately from Holocaust and slavery, have you guys seen the Bob Dylan movie? Has anybody
No.
seen it? Holy moly. It's the coolest. I was on the airplane tonight and I watched it. It's freaking awesome. The music is great. And the history of that guy is amazing too. Highly recommend it and do it as a date night. Because you know how some date night movies are like sappy, right? Some romantic movies, like the guys are like, oh my God, do I just have to sit through this? But that one, I think the guy would totally be into it. It's called A Complete Unknown because he came out of nowhere and he was super shy and like didn't really like the whole fame thing. At least at first, it's kind of interesting.
Wait, can you repeat the name of it again? I was gonna write it down.
Yeah, a complete unknown, and I'm gonna put it in the chat too.
Thank
The
you.
movie follows Bob Dylan's life from 1961 to 65, his rise to fame. Let's see if I can. It's available to stream on Amazon Prime or on a Delta Airline flight. There we go.
Were you coming back? Weren't you in London or somewhere recently?
Yeah, I did go to London for some meetings a couple weeks ago, and then I was in Florida.
Okay.
And then my daughter asked me to come back to help with my grandson. So I flew quickly here today.
Ah, I
A
bet
little
she loves the
freaking,
help.
yeah, he's not sleeping well.
Oh, bummer.
Exhausting. Like, dude,
How old is the
sleep.
baby now?
He's 6 weeks. He's so cute. He's right next to me.
Oh,
Oh my God, this kid is cute.
So, Laura, it probably seems like a stupid question, but my mom is a postpartum doula, and she says a lot of the babies that don't sleep well aren't getting enough to eat. So I have to ask, is he
This
being
dude, this
fed
freaking baby's
regularly?
gone from 7 pounds to 13 in 6 weeks.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. I love it.
But that's cool that your mom does that. I might get your number for my daughter.
Yeah, this is like her retirement hobby. So she goes and does, and she's amazing. Like if she hadn't come and stayed with me for 8 weeks after I had my baby, I know I would have quit breastfeeding after like day 14 was the day I was going to just quit and give up. And if she hadn't been there, I would have. So
No, Eliana is doing great on the breastfeeding part. It's just
it's awesome.
this little guy likes to sleep on top of us.
Oh yes, yeah. My first was like that, and
Aww.
we used to call it
Who's
Club Baby. He would wake up at like 1 o'clock in the morning and not want to go back to sleep and wanted to be entertained. It wasn't like
How
you could
about this
hold
one?
them.
Who do you have up with you? Oh, who's that?
That's my 3-year-old who's in a sleep regression pattern right now. So he wakes up like it's
This,
the middle of the afternoon. Yes.
oh my God, so cute. I'm not going to tell my daughter that at 3 they wake up.
Yeah, don't scare her.
I remember my pediatrician told me to he's such a great guy, to let the baby cry for 3 nights and then call him. I was like, are you out of your fucking mind? But let me tell you something. I did it, and I can't remember if it was the first night or the second night. So I let her cry and cry and cry and cry, and I cried. I had to go to my neighbors and just like we went to the lounge in my building, and her dad was there, but I was so upset. But let me tell you something, guys. She slept for 12 hours after that every single night. But it was the hardest thing to just sit there and listen to her cry. She probably cried for like, I don't know, 4 hours or something. Excuse me, something like that. It was,
Yeah. How old was that? Like 3 months old, 2 months
I
old?
can't remember if it was 3 or 6. And
I
Yeah.
think it was 6. It's called sleep training, and we did that too with our first baby.
oh, it was
Oh,
awful. And
Yeah, it was like 20 minutes the first night, 15 the second, 10 the third night, and then like you said, 12 hours a night after that. It was, but me and my husband laid in bed like in the fetal position, like whimping and whining while it was happening. Totally get it.
was awful. Yeah, I think it was. It must have been closer to 6 months, but her gestational age is off because I went into late. My water broke at 24 weeks. I had her at 26 weeks, so she was a 1 pound baby, but so her timing was off. But yeah, I guess it was around 6 months. It was rough.
1 pound. Whoa.
Yeah,
She's a miracle baby that she's
yeah,
alive.
1 pound 8 ounces, no problems.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. That must have been so hard to like just even pick her up.
I Laura, I couldn't. I was afraid to change, and I felt bad. I was afraid. Her diaper was like
Oh,
pamper was like 2 square inches, like the size of like I called it a gauze pad. It was so small, and I was afraid I was going to break her legs or hurt her legs.
oh,
So I wasn't able to even change her pamper to like, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks or so. I wasn't even able to hold her for until about 3 weeks. I just went to the hospital every day, sat there, looked at her in a box for like 8 hours, go home, take a shower, eat dinner, come back, and just every day for 3 months look at her in a box. It was
I,
insane.
wow. So Eliana was in the NICU because she was a meconium baby and then a jaundice baby, so we couldn't bring her home. But she was this big 7 pound baby next to all these babies like yours. So we didn't have any, but we couldn't pick her up, or we could just touch her, but we couldn't pick her up for like 6 days, and I was a basket case. But I can't imagine, man, you're strong, girl.
I
It's amazing.
faked it, Laura. I faked it. I was just had this fake ass smile on my face. I was like, "Oh, I'm great. We're fine. Everything's great." The whole time, everybody would come. People would come to visit, and they would. I was consoling every person who came to visit. I was consoling. Meanwhile, I got this 1 pound baby, but I just like turned into a robot, and I was like, "No, we're great. Everything's great." With this fake ass smile. And that was the only way I could get through it. Otherwise, I would have lost my shit. I just faked it.
That's why women, I'm telling you, women, especially moms, are just freaking badass. That's why we can do so much in the business. You're fucking juggling so much. Freaking carrying a baby, birthing a baby, raising a baby, freaking raising a household. I mean, that's why we can do circles around men. I don't know if there's any men up.
Jay, I know you're listening.
I'm gonna let you have your moment. I'm not even about to butt in. You knew it though. You knew it.
That's sweet of you. By the way, congrats on the true crime. You and Joseph and Adrian are crushing it.
Oh, that's a different Jay. I think you're
Oh,
thinking.
it's a different Jay, sorry.
Yeah.
I'll give all the Jays credit.
Thanks,
Hey,
Laura. It's a group effort between us and the whole community because everyone is great. They come and they support, they participate. So everyone, thank you to everyone.
You bet, Joseph. I'm so sorry I couldn't help last night. I literally finally unplugged and was with like an unexpected group of friends in Florida, and I didn't look at my phone for like hours. And then I was like, wow, I can finally unplug. And then I got a text this morning from my daughter, and she's like, Mom, can you come back? And I said, I'm getting on the next plane.
No worries, Laura. I totally get disconnecting. Totally get it.
hey, Jay, did you guys get any tornadoes near you?
Now the last, I think it was like 30, 35 miles below where I am. There was
Wow.
one above, uh, more than 35 miles above. No, they didn't come through my area. Just really, really fast wind.
That's not too far away, 35 miles. My God.
Well, you know what they call Arkansas? They call was like Oklahoma, Arkansas, north part of Louisiana. It's like Tornado Alley. So it's the like our version of what Florida gets, and this is our season, or it's just beginning really. So yeah, nah. Usually, like I'm up now, and I'll just be up for just a little bit, even though we're in the clear, just to make sure, and then after that I'll lay down. But like when it's really bad, I'll stay up and be like, hey, y'all, look, I'll tell them like I was up to like 2 or 3. Just because if there's like a siren, I'll wake everyone up and be like, we have like a safe room in our home, so like a full concrete little room. It's like built in to the side of the garage.
Oh, that's so smart. So you guys don't have basements there?
Some people do. No, not us, but some people do. I mean, everybody has their, everyone has their like, I guess what, there's like a flaw in everywhere you live. To me, paradise is Australia, but Australia has all the deadliest animals in the freaking world. But it's like the most beautiful country, so everything has this catch.
What other countries would people like to live in if you didn't live in the United States? I love that question.
I mean, I wouldn't mind living in London, I feel. I was only there once for like 2 weeks, but it was like beautiful. And the shopping is amazing. So I'd probably go broke if I lived in London.
Nurse share any countries you'd like to live in? Oh, I see you. Spartacus.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I really, I don't know. I've enjoyed so many places. I can't like decide on one because I love the snow. So I don't think I would want to be somewhere where I wouldn't still get snow. So that complicates it a bit. And I did enjoy the UK, but it was also like too much fucking rain. So I couldn't. I couldn't do that.
I
Yeah, I
always hear
love doing this.
Rachel say that. Rachel always says, I love the snow. She loves it.
Yeah, I love the snow. I love ice skating. I love skiing. I love sledding. Snowball fights, like all that stuff with the kids. I think I'm more excited for a snow day than they are when they come.
Oh, and where are you in Colorado or Michigan or
Nope, I'm in Pennsylvania.
oh Pennsylvania? Oh my
Yep.
gosh. Yeah, I love it when it snows. When I lived in Chicago during the pandemic, there was a year where it snowed a lot and it was awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I hope we get another blizzard soon. Like I was, wishing for one this year, but it didn't happen. But like we had a huge blizzard back in 1996, and I was at a sleepover like the night that it happened. And we just, we were 9. We were like, oh, we're going to get to stay here forever because there's so much snow. Nobody's parents are going to come. And my dad did come. He came and got me and all the other girls that lived in our development. And he took us over to, I don't know, I forget what it was, but he took us over to this place near the house. And it was like, the biggest hill you've ever seen in your life, and he had the sleds in the car, and my mom had a thermos with hot chocolate, and like it was just like the best impromptu day. Like we were in pajamas and in our winter coats, thinking we're riding home, and like we had a whole thing out in the snow, so it was awesome.
Did anybody else think you were driving like at warp speed when you were a kid in the car? And it was snowing. It was like coming at you. It was like warp speed, Captain.
That's Spartacus. I love hearing your voice late at night, my friend.
Love hearing yours as well, Laura. Good to hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah, as an adult, Spartacus, it felt like that in real life, like driving to night shift at the hospital, like when it was a snowstorm or something, and no other cars on the road, and it's like a lot of snow coming down. It definitely felt like that.
yeah, I was hoping for a blizzard. We didn't get one this year. I was definitely like, I'm not quite ready for spring yet. I wanted one good snow, but we didn't get
Yeah,
it.
we're due for like a good one, Shirai. I feel like we don't usually get one every like 5 to 7, and we haven't had one.
Yeah, same.
The moment you get buried under snow, you're going to be on here complaining about, oh my God, it's so cold. We can't even go outside. And you're going to be regretting it, aren't you?
No, I love it. Like I'm doing snow angels. I love sprinkling. I'm a weirdo. I love sprinkling the salt. Like I have a certain like thing that I use to sprinkle it, and like I make sure that like the snow plow is all charged up, and it's I love it. I love it. And if it's like going to be coming down for hours and hours, I like to go out and like kind of do a little bit at a time just on the front walkway. My husband's like, "Oh, don't do the driveway, I'll do it." But like I do the walkway, and I love it. Like I just love it. I love snow.
No, I agree, Nurse Share and Sheree, because I'm in New Jersey, and yeah, we have not had like a big blizzard snowstorm in a while, and I kind of like it every once in a while to have that, to have an excuse to just stay in the house and like eat food and drink wine, and it's just like it looks beautiful too.
Yeah, especially when it first comes down. It's so pretty. We're so corny.
Yes.
Are we,
Yes, before
are we
anyone
corny?
steps in it. No, not at all. Before anyone steps in it. Like even for the patio, like I love looking out and seeing the snow on that patio, and with no footprints or anything, and then like you'll have like a rabbit or a squirrel or something, and then you'll see the cute little footprints in the snow. Like I love all of that. Like it is just so awesome. And then like putting something in the crock pot, and everyone rushing out to get like I always joke they're rushing out to get fucking French toast because they're always buying like bread, milk, and eggs. But like is everyone making French toast? Like why is it just bread, milk, and eggs? Like I don't eat sandwiches, and I don't do a lot of scrambled eggs, so it always just boggled my mind why people ran out to get those things in particular. We run out, but it's not for bread, milk, and eggs when there's about to be a snowstorm.
Or my mom would often make a pot of chili when it snowed.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Chili, curry chicken. Yeah. Love that. And there was one year where it was like an ice storm. And I don't know what my dad did, but like he went out and like wet the snow before the ice storm. Like the temperature dropped before the ice storm, but he went out and wet the snow, like with the hose, like sprayed it before the temperature dropped. And then when the ice storm happened, like we had like thick solid ice. Like the yard was very flat in the front, we had thick solid ice, and I was actually able to ice skate um on our front lawn. Not like the whole thing, but like there was like a good probably 10 foot by 10 foot area where I was able to skate on my, like with the ice skates. It was crazy. Probably, I was also very young and probably didn't even weigh 100 pounds, and that was why it held up. But that was so much fun too.
Memories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't get to do that in Southern California. We definitely don't. Not by the beach.
No, but you guys have other magical stuff there. I've been